The outer wall of Terranhold explodes inward. Enemy soldiers surge through the breach.
Move. If you want to live, help me pour this into the breach.
The city lord grants him a single night. If the patch fails by dawn, every soul in Terranhold dies. Through the moonless night, Daichi mixes volcanic ash, lime, and crushed stone. He pours the gray slurry into wooden forms. At first light, the enemy ram draws near. The defenders brace for the worst. The ram strikes the new concrete. The stone wall next to it crumbles, but the gray section does not yield.
What sorcery is this? A thin wall like that should have shattered.
No sorcery. Roman concrete, with a few modern improvements, and this is only a test.
The breach is sealed, but the enemy army still surrounds the city. Aldrich studies the wall with cold calculation.
Impressive. But if this concrete can save a city, it could also build an empire. And knowledge like that cannot remain in the hands of an apprentice.
The last thing Daichi remembered of Tokyo was the bridge snapping under him, steel groaning, and then silence. He woke in a stonemason's yard, younger, in a body that knew the weight of stone. This empire built walls by dry stacking cut stone. A single ram could unseat an entire section.
Roman concrete, pozzolana, ash, lime, and aggregate. I can build walls that no ram can crack.
He tracked down volcanic ash from a dormant peak, mixed it with lime in a hidden workshop. He poured the gray slurry into a wooden form, the first concrete slab of this world. When it cured, he struck it with a hammer. The stone beside it shattered, the concrete barely chipped.
It works. But if the guild discovers this, they will call it heresy.
He hid his formula, waiting. The siege of Terranhold gave him the chance to prove it.
The patch holds. If I am allowed, I can build walls that will stand for centuries.
Word of the unbreakable gray wall raced to the capital. Emperor Valerius summoned the young apprentice to the palace. In the great hall, Daichi placed a slab of concrete beside a block of cut stone before the throne.
Your Majesty, strike the stone first, then the concrete. Witness which one yields.
You would have me test it myself. Very well. I have always trusted my own arm.
The emperor swung with full force. The stone block shattered, shards skittering across the marble. The concrete chimed but showed only a faint scratch.
Incredible. With ramparts built of this material, no enemy could ever breach an imperial city.
Your Majesty, this is a dangerous hoax. Stone is the proven way of our forefathers. That gray sludge will crumble under a real assault.
But the emperor raised his hand, silencing the guildsmen. His eyes remained fixed on the unbroken gray block.
I name you Imperial Engineer. You will fortify the mountain pass, and to satisfy the guild, Aldrich shall oversee your work.
An imperial commission, but with a viper as my shadow? I will need to guard every formula, every ingredient.
At the mountain pass, Daichi broke ground on the first concrete fortress, but the guilds sent old, cracked forms and weak lime.
No more cut stone. We use iron rods, rebar inside the concrete. It will hold 10 times stronger than dead stone.
Such reckless innovation. If this wall falls, the blame will crush you faster than any ram.
But Daichi pushed his crews through the night. In 3 months, the fortress stood taller than any stone keep ever built in a year.
I've never seen ramparts rise so fast, but my scouts say the enemy marches sooner than we feared.
How long do we have? The tower foundations need another week to fully cure.
Days at best. Their vanguard was sighted crossing the valley this morning.
Not enough time. But I've reinforced the gatehouse with twice the rebar. It will have to hold.
By dusk, the fortress was sealed, but the distant drums of the approaching army echoed through the pass.
They're here early. Seal the gates. No one leaves. No one enters. This fortress must stand unbroken.
The enemy poured through the pass. Trebuchet hurled stone, and a massive ram rolled forward.
They're aiming for the gate. If that concrete patch gives, we are done.
The ram struck the wall with a sound that shook the mountains. The stone beside it shattered, But the concrete held. Again and again, the enemy bashed the gray face of the fortress. Their rams splintered, their stones bounced. No cracks yielded. By dawn, the enemy retreated, their siege engines abandoned. Only then did the Imperial banner appear on the horizon.
Your wall did not break. Your name will be carved into this empire.
The Emperor himself placed a golden medal around Daichi's neck. The soldiers cheered as one.
The real test is not the wall. It's whether I can keep the formula safe from those who would steal it.
That night, Aldrich slipped into Daichi's study. By candlelight, he copied the ingredient lists.
The secret of concrete will not belong to one man. It will be my key to power.
Daichi spent the next months reinforcing border cities. His concrete aqueducts and roads transformed the empire.
General, with these walls and supply lines, no siege can starve our cities.
Impressive. But the enemy will not sit idle. They'll seek any weakness.
Aldrich moved through the capital's shadows, the stolen formula hidden in his coat.
The complete recipe, curing times included. Your masters will pay handsomely.
The Varenthian agent took the scroll and pressed a pouch of gold into Aldrich's palm. Meanwhile, Daichi was alone in his drafting room, unaware of the treachery unfolding.
Daichi's empire will crack from within. A new guild will rise, and I will lead it.
If I can just build fast enough, the war will end before another siege begins.
But the seeds of betrayal had already been planted in foreign soil. 3 months later, on the southern border, enemy workers poured concrete into massive forms. A gray fortress was rising under Varenthian banners. The rival emperor inspected his new bastion, a smirk on his lips. A sealed report reached the imperial court. The Varenthians are building with unbreakable gray walls.
Daichi, our enemy possesses your secret. How is this possible?
Your Majesty, surely our imperial engineer would never betray us, but perhaps he was careless.
Careless? I've guarded that formula with my life. There's a traitor among us.
Investigate or step down, engineer. The Empire cannot afford a war against its own walls.
Give me 3 days. I will find the leak and prove my loyalty.
That night, Daichi searched his study. The locked trunk where the formula was kept had been pried open.
Let him search. The recipe is already across the border, and soon these gray walls will surround him.
The enemy has the ash, the lime, the aggregate. But the curing process is entirely missing. They poured fast and uncured. That concrete will crumble from the inside.
At the War Council, General Halgrim slammed his fist on the map.
We attack at dawn before their walls fully set. We'll overwhelm them with sheer force.
No, General. Their fortress is already a tomb. We don't need a sword. We need patience.
Explain quickly, engineer. Our soldiers are ready to march.
The stolen recipe lacks a crucial step, slow curing underwater. Without it, their walls will crack within months.
He unrolled an intelligence sketch. Fine cracks, already spidered across the base of the rival fortress.
Months. We cannot sit idle while they fortify further.
3 months. If I am wrong, I will stand on the front line with you. Aldrich, it was you. The broken lock, the missing formula, you sold us to the Varenthians.
Sold? I simply traded. And you, Daichi, will soon learn that concrete cannot stop a knife.
Before Daichi could react, Aldrich lunged with the blade. Daichi stumbled back, and Aldrich fled into the night.
Straight to the Varenthian lines. The Empire will fall, and I will rise from its ashes.
By dawn, the rival emperor stood before his army, a mocking smile on his lips. His herald declared, "Our walls are unbreakable. Come and break yourselves against them."
They're moving. 3 columns, heading for our southern cities. We're out of time.
2 months too early. We have to hold them off long enough for the cracks to spread.
Soon, the Empire will beg for the old ways, and I will return as their savior.
The Varenthians launched their assault, confident that their gray walls would shield them from any counterattack. Imperial soldiers stormed the gray bastion with rams and ladders. but the concrete repelled every assault.
Burn the gates. We've not broken through anywhere on this cursed wall.
There, hairline fractures spreading from the base. They're cracking already, just as I predicted. Sound the retreat. We've done enough. Now we wait for time to do the rest. Look at the wall, General. It's failing from within. We preserve our strength for the final blow. Your Majesty, the enemy fort is crumbling. I need 3 months to let time do our work, and the cracks will finish them.
3 months? If you are wrong, our cities will fall. Your life will not be enough to repay.
If I am wrong, I will stand before the enemy, not behind a wall. But I am not wrong. I stake my genius on it.
Very well. 3 months. But if they still stand, you die.
Every day, I watch the fractures spread. Patience will be our sharpest weapon.
In his workshop, Daichi constructed a miniature fortress from the same uncured concrete as the enemy's walls. Before the War Council, he poured water over the model, then held a torch to its base.
Observe. Without slow curing, the concrete absorbs water and expands. The core shatters from within.
The model buckled, then crumbled into a heap of gray dust. The council gasped.
Your genius is terrifying. But what if the enemy realizes their mistake before it's too late?
They know nothing of the curing process. Aldrich copied only the recipe, not the secret. They will not suspect.
Then we will wait. But Daichi, guard this secret with your life. No enemy spy can learn of the cure.
The Empire's strategy shifted, reinforced their own walls, and let the enemy's forts rot from within.
Every week, the cracks widen. The Varinthians celebrate, unaware their walls are turning to dust.
Patience is a soldier's hardest battle, but this time, I will follow an engineer's plan.
As weeks passed, Daichi raised concrete granaries and aqueducts across the heartland, a silent testament to imperial resolve.
The people's nerves fray, General. But every passing day is a chisel on the enemy's walls.
From across the border, Varinthian heralds bellowed dares. The rival emperor unveiled a second, larger concrete fort.
Aldrich's betrayal forged their pride. But the stolen recipe is a slow-burning fuse. They celebrate a funeral.
The city merchants demand action. If we do nothing, they will fund a coup before the enemy breaches a single wall.
Tell them the winter rains will crack those towers to the core. Their monuments will be their tombs.
And indeed, after each storm, the cracks in the rival forts stretched wider, branching like veins of poison through the gray walls.
The math is absolute. Moisture, thermal stress, uncured mass. Collapse is a matter of when, not if. But will the people trust me that long?
A spy's report reached the Emperor. The enemy had begun adding stone buttresses to the cracked sections, a desperate reinforcement.
They suspect. If they discover the true flaw before the walls fall, we lose our only advantage. I must accelerate the process.
A scout burst into the command tent, breathless, pointing east. The Varinthian horde was barely a day's march from the pass.
How many? Speak clearly, soldier.
Reports flooded in. 10,000 infantry, 100 siege engines, all marching toward the concrete fortress Aldrich had helped them build.
This is the test. If they suspect the weakness, they might reinforce before it's too late. General, we hold this fortress with silence. The troops fight harder, believing only in the wall's strength.
But if they knew the enemy's fort would crumble, they'd fight with certainty.
And if the enemy learns we rely on that crumble, they'll rush stone buttresses. Then we lose everything.
Madman, but I'll trust your numbers.
The garrison stood at the battlements as the enemy host filled the horizon, drums pounding. Daichi's silence was absolute.
Not a word of the cure. The secret dies with me if necessary.
That night, black clouds swallowed the stars. Lightning split the sky and sheets of rain hammered the concrete walls.
A storm of this magnitude, the uncured concrete will drink the water like a sponge. It could accelerate the collapse.
All through the night, Daichi remained on the highest tower, counting the seconds between flashes that lit the enemy's distant walls.
Water in the cracks, thermal shock. If my calculations are right, the core will shatter by dawn.
As the first gray light touched the horizon, a massive plume of dust rose from the east. The enemy's largest fort had collapsed into a heap of rubble.
Daichi, the scouts report, the whole eastern bastion is gone. It crumbled into the valley.
On the distant mountainside, the gray giant that had defied the Empire now lay spread in pieces like a shattered tomb.
One down. The others will follow as the moisture spreads. Nature did what no army could. The enemy will now fear their own walls, but the war is not over. Other forts still stand, and we must strike before they reinforce.
Then we prepare a counterstrike. For the first time in this war, the advantage is ours.
The Imperial legions swept into Varinthian territory, capturing one cracked fort after another without a single assault.
Look at these fracture lines. The failure radiates from the uncured core. Not a single wall has the strength of our slow-cured concrete.
The enemy soldiers abandoned their own fortresses, terrified of being crushed by the gray tombs they had trusted.
2 more forts collapsed overnight. Their defense is shattering faster than we can advance.
The secret was in the water and the time. They rushed, and now their empire is being swallowed by its own hub, by its own hubris.
In the rubble of the original enemy bastion, soldiers uncovered a figure pinned beneath a broken lintel.
Aldrich, did your new masters reward you with this tomb?
Daichi, you cannot kill me. I have more secrets.
The only secret that matters is the one you never learned. Curing. You sold a death sentence.
Halgrim ordered the traitor dragged in chains. The Varinthian campaign was ending, but the future of the Empire's concrete was just beginning. In the shadow of their collapsed fortress, the rival emperor knelt and laid his sword before Valerius.
Your walls crumbled because you stole the form but not the soul. Let this be a lesson engraved in history.
The war is over. Now, I can finally build something that will never need to be defended.
Emperor Valerius raised Daichi before the assembled court and bestowed upon him a new title.
You are no longer Imperial Engineer. You are Supreme Builder of the Empire. Name whatever reward your heart desires.
Then, let me build lighthouses to guide ships, dams to water fields, and a cathedral whose dome touches the sky. Let my concrete serve peace.
The Engineers Guild brought forward a heavy seal. An official pressed it into wax, and the word geniuses glowed beneath Daichi's name.
Genius. That seal is not a prize, it's a promise. Every wall, every arch, I will build them to last 1,000 years.
The ceremony ended, but for Daichi, the true work was just beginning. He turned from the throne and walked toward a future of stone, water, and light.
No more Zegas. From now on, I will pour my soul into structures that don't keep people out, but lift them up.
On the rocky coast where ships had wrecked for centuries, Daichi laid the foundation of a colossal concrete lighthouse.
No storm will crack this tower. The light will guide sailors for 1,000 years.
In a mountain gorge, Daichi's engineers erected a curved concrete dam, taming a wild river into a placid reservoir.
This is true power. Controlling the forces that once destroyed cities, water will now feed them.
In the capital, the heart of his legacy rose, a vast domed cathedral of seamless concrete, its interior a cascade of colored light.
Stone could never span such a heavenly space. Concrete makes the impossible possible.
Surrounded by young apprentices, Daichi began to teach the art that had won an empire. He spoke of ash, lime, and the secret that mattered most.
Always remember, the cure is in the water and the time. Slow curing underwater. That is the secret the enemy never learned.
The old guild masters who had once opposed him now came to listen, their skepticism dissolved by the reality of Daichi's enduring structures.
These walls will outlast me, but through these teachings the formula will never be lost again.
Decades later, an older Daichi traveled the mountain pass and stood before the first fortress he had ever built.
The stone castles of my youth have long crumbled, but this wall, Not a single crack.
He ran his weathered hand along the smooth gray surface. It was as cool and solid as the day the pour had finished.
The enemy poured their walls without patience, and they turned to gravel. Time is the final test of engineering. Every siege this fortress faced, every storm that hammered it, only proved one thing. My concrete was never just about winning battles. It was about defying time.
He thought of the rival empire whose concrete tombs had crumbled in a single season. Their ambition was dust. His stood eternal.
This is the difference between an artisan and a genius. One builds for a lifetime. The other builds for all lifetimes.
The sun began to set, casting the fortress in a golden glow. Daichi knew his own sunset was not far.
If I am remembered at all, let it be for what I built to last, not what I built to destroy. The secret is in the water and the time. And now, my time has been well spent.
That night in his study, the Supreme Builder lay still, his most trusted apprentice beside him. The apprentice leaned close and asked, "Master, what must we never forget?"
The secret is in the water and the time. Slow curing underwater. That is all.
A gentle breath left him, and Daichi closed his eyes, the faintest smile on his lips. The room was silent. Then the apprentice bowed his head and whispered, "We will not forget." Across the empire, bells tolled. The builder of unbreakable walls was gone. By dawn, his apprentices gathered his blueprints, and the heavy wax seal marked genius. They swore an oath to guard the formula and teach only those who respected the cure. His body was laid to rest in the shadow of his first fortress. The wall, his eternal guardian, and the secret of concrete, once stolen, now became the sacred trust of a new generation. Centuries erased the empire Daichi had served, but his cathedral defied the ages. Tourists from distant lands stared up at the vast concrete dome, where sunlight fell in ribbons of color. A guide gestured to a bronze plaque, the letters still sharp after hundreds of years. Beneath the imperial seal, a single word stood embossed, "Genius." On the western coast, his lighthouse cast its beam through the sea mist, a faithful sentinel. In the mountain pass, the concrete dam held back a lake of crystal water, feeding the valley. From the air, Daichi's three wonders formed a perfect arc: lighthouse, dam, and cathedral, all of the same enduring gray. The tourists never learned the secret of the slow cure, but they felt it in the cathedral's profound stillness. Daichi's name had become legend, but his concrete was truth, a promise that would not break. And on the plaque, geniuses still gleamed, as if stamped by the master himself that very morning. The empire had turned to legend, but the fortress still stood, a silent gray monument to a man who defied time. Each morning, travelers would pause at the pass, laying stones at its base as their ancestors had done for centuries. The concrete was cool under their hands, as seamless as the day Daichi had blessed it with his touch. High above, the lighthouse swept the horizon, the dam held back the flood, and the cathedral dome cradled the sky. And within the heart of those walls, the spirit of the builder lingered, not in a name, but in the unbreakable truth of his work. On the plaque, the word "geniuses" caught the first light, and for a moment, it seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The secret of concrete endured, in the water, in the time, and in the hands of every engineer who walked the path he had laid. So the story ended, not with a tomb, but with a fortress that would never be breached, a monument to the man who won the war that never ends against decay. And as the sun rose, the gray walls shone like polished silver, a beacon for the ages. And somewhere in the silence, a whisper carried on the wind: "The secret is in the water and the time." And so the gray walls passed from builder to legend, their silent mass a challenge to eternity. On the bronze plaque, geniuses not only named a man, but became the measure of all craftsmanship that followed. A child asked his grandfather, "Who built the unbreakable wall?" The old man smiled and touched the cool stone. "A man who understood the secret of water and patience," he said. "And that is why nothing has ever broken through." For a moment, in the play of light on that ancient concrete, The shadow of a confident engineer seemed to stand among them once more. And as dusk fell, the lighthouse kindled its flame, the dam held its lake, and the cathedral dome caught the last crimson rays. The wars were forgotten. The empires crumbled to dust, but Daichi's formula still held the world together. A young woman traced the G on the plaque and whispered, "Genius," not as a boast, but as a vow. In her eyes, the same sharp gray spark Daichi once had. The cure was alive, and across the ages, the secret remained. In the water, in the time, and in the will to build something that lasts.